everyone. It is a privilege and a pleasure to be here in Varanasi, a city that represents both tradition and learning. I am sincerely grateful to Dr. Ritu Khanna ma'am and the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on the topic that continues to generate considerable discussion in reproductive medicine. Should all septa be removed? Uterine septum is the most common Mullerian anomaly. Prevalence is about 1.5 to 3% globally. Septate uterus sits at the intersection of infertility, recurrent pregnancy loss, and ART outcome. Many clinicians have observed improved outcome after septal resection, leading to its widespread acceptance. But the combination of clinical experience and conflicting evidence is what keeps the debate alive. To understand septate uterus, we need to briefly revisit embryology. The Mullerian duct first developed and fused to form a single uterine structure. If fusion fails, fusion defects such as bicondylar uterus or didelphys results. In contrast, if fusion occurs normally but septal resorption fails, a septate uterus develops. This explains the hallmark finding of normal external fundal contour with internal septum. Understanding this distinction is essential because diagnosis and management depend on it. The ASRM 2021 classification recognizes 9 categories. Among these, septate uterus is the most frequently encountered anomaly. Although everyone agrees on existence of septate uterus, there is less agreement on how exactly should it be defined. This is one of the major reasons for confusion in literature. ASRM defines a septate uterus using absolute measurements, an indentation of greater than 10 mm with an angle less than 90 degrees, while Ashley uses a relative wall thickness approach which tends to classify more women as having a septate uterus. Kuhn attempts to provide a middle ground using combined morphometric criteria. As a result, prevalence of septate uterus and the number of women offered surgery may sustainably depend on which classification system is applied. Before deciding whether a septum should be removed, we need to understand why it matters clinically. Septate uterus has been associated with recurrent pregnancy loss, preterm birth, and malpresentation. Several mechanisms have been proposed, including poor vascularization of septum, abnormal endometrial receptivity, altered uterine contractility, and defects in local growth factor expression. However, none of these mechanisms has been definitely proven. Before discussing surgery, we must first be certain that we are dealing with a true septate uterus. Today, 3D transvaginal ultrasound is the preferred line of investigation. HSG and hysteroscopy provide excellent cavity assessment, but itself cannot reliably distinguish a septate uterus from a bicondylar uterus. MRI is reserved for complex or certain cases, while laparoscopy is now rarely required for diagnosis purposes alone. The key message is treatment decisions are only as good as diagnosis. This figure shows the spectrum of Mullerian anomalies. Of particular interest to us are the images F and G, representing complete and partial septate uterus. This is where 3D transvaginal ultrasound, preferably performed in secretory phase, is particularly valuable. In septate uterus, the external fundal contour remains normal or convex, but the cavity is divided by fibromuscular septum, typically with an internal angle of less than 90 degrees. In contrast, bicondylar uterus is characterized by a deep external fundal cleft, two separated hemicavities, and a wider internal angle, usually greater than 90 degrees. The key clinical point is that we should never diagnose a septum from the cavity alone. We must always assess the external fundal contour. Arcuate uterus, although developing, arcuate uterus may be considered as part of spectrum of Mullerian anomalies. It is typically considered a normal variant and is not associated with any adverse outcome. However, it is important to differentiate arcuate from septate uterus. There are many diagnostic pitfalls like relying on cavity shape and angle alone, using SSG or 2D ultrasound alone, overcalling arcuate uterus as separate, or forcing every case into a rigid classification. Suboptimal multiplanar imaging or missing associated cervical or vaginal anomalies. Once the diagnosis is established correctly, The next question is whether anomaly actually affects the reproductive outcome. For nearly 2 decades, most of our confidence in septal resection came from observational studies and retrospective cohorts, which consistently suggested lower miscarriage rates and better reproductive outcome. TRUST trial is the only randomized study evaluating septum resection. It showed no significant benefit of surgery over expected management. Following the TRUST trial and other contemporary evidence, ASRM updated its recommendation in 2024. The guideline does not support routine septum resection for every woman. Latest RCOG guidelines largely mirrors ASRM. The emphasis again is on individualized decision making and appropriate follow-up. When we translate guidelines recommendations into practice, it helps us identify where surgery is best supported and where caution is required. Interestingly, this selective approach is very different from how septum management was viewed decades ago. Historically, septate uterus was considered a major cause of infertility and miscarriage, leading to an era where many septa were routinely dissected. Over time, better imaging, improved diagnosis, challenged this routine intervention. This ultimately led to more balanced evidence-based recommendations we follow today. Which brings us to the practical question every clinician faces in OPD. Which septa should be removed? Answer is, management should be individualized, taking into account reproductive history, septum morphology, patient goal, and shared decision making. Today, the challenge is not identifying a septum. The challenge is identifying the septum that truly matters. Once the decision for surgery has been made, hysteroscopic septum resection remains the standard surgical approach for symptomatic septate uterus, preferably performed in early proliferative phase, when the endometrium is thin and visualization is optimal. Preoperative assessment of septum morphology and length using 3D ultrasound facilitates surgical planning and improves safety. Instruments available are hysteroscopic scissor, bipolar electrodes, and receptoscopes. Hysteroscopic scissors offer precise mechanical division without thermal injury and are widely used in fertility preserving surgery. Few technical pearls for the procedure are: as we enter the uterine cavity, as visible in the video, pause for a moment before proceeding. This seemingly small step makes a significant difference. Allow the distension medium sufficient time to enter one conval region, reflect from the fundus, create turbulence, and then establish an adequate outflow. Once this equilibrium is achieved, the cavity opens beautifully and anatomical landmarks becomes much clearer. The required intrauterine pressure varies according to cavity size, cervical leakage, and degree of uterine distensibility. The first incision is deliberately small to define the correct plane of resection. The tubal ostia serves as a constant anatomical reference point and help maintain the correct depth and direction of dissection. The critical technical goal is to avoid centering the septum in the field of view. Hysteroscope should visualize slightly more of the anterior cavity than the posterior cavity. Start laterally where tissue is more fibrous and less vascular. Another important concept is biting technique. The blades are kept within the tissue plane while sequential opening and closing movements are performed. Throughout the procedure, constant reassessment is one of the keys for safe septum surgery. Avoid repeated withdrawal because cavity collapse can compromise vision due to minor bleeding. Efficacy is in minimizing fluid exposure, reducing the risk of fluid overload, preserving visualization, and completing the procedure safely. A small residual septum measuring less than 0.5 to 1 cm does not adversely affect reproductive outcome. Hysteroscopic septum resection is generally a safe and low morbidity procedure when performed by experienced surgeons. However, like any surgery, it is not completely risk-free. Intraoperative complications such as perforation, bleeding, or fluid overload are uncommon, while post-operative concerns include adhesions, residual septum, and very rarely future obstetric complications. Therefore, the decision to operate should always balance the potential reproductive benefit against these procedural risks. For us in India, the key question is not what Western studies show, but how to apply that evidence in our own practice. Indian data is limited and largely observational, but they generally report improved reproductive outcome after septal resection and selected hormone. Therefore, current practice should be individualized. I would like to conclude with a patient who remains very close to my heart. A case of RBL, conceived naturally after hysteroscopic septal resection, delivered a healthy term baby after 8 years. What makes this case really special for me that she recently returned in my OPD while planning her next pregnancy, and with her she brought this child, whom I had last seen as a newborn. For me, this case perfectly summarizes the message of today's talk. Not every septum should be removed, but in the right patient, with the right indication, hysteroscopic septum resection can make a meaningful difference. When we get the decision right, we have the opportunity to change a family story forever. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for wonderful information. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Message is absolutely clear. Patient should be individualized and without